a little trappy.
Yeah. Got a good beat.
Oh, digging it. Hello, everybody. You know what? Today is Thursday, Channel Review Thursday. And guess what? Nobody filled out a channel review form. So
Apparently everybody's on vacation.
Well, my kid's on spring break.
Okay.
They get a spring break off, so I'm turning this.
Our spring break was like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
So
they get like Easter and then they get spring break.
That's nice.
Yeah, I know. So in Malcolm and I's group, Real Estate YouTube Mastermind, I've noticed that a lot of people are, they don't really understand their audience. So I was watching, or somebody asked a question in there and they were asking about, can you have two avatars and can you have two separate audiences on one channel? And what do you say to that, Joe Eves?
No, you cannot.
No, you can't.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, you're going to have a slow growing channel and it may even stall. Joe and I have been doing this now about 1.5 years, and the way that we teach it, people are like, first they're very resistant. Then they go through the motions, and then when they follow what we do, then they have success very early on. One student I think she just put out her first video following our method, and she got 1,000 views in a day.
Yeah, because she's following the system.
You will have a split audience. Yeah, you will have a split audience, and it doesn't make sense. You have to be very focused on who you're making content for. If you have a channel that has buyers and sellers on it, that is two totally different types of people. And I know that you're like, well, it's all about real estate and I want to get sellers and buyers. I get what you're saying, but in order for YouTube to do its YouTube thing, you have to be very specific about who your audience is.
Yeah. Yep. I think that the best way to explain this is like, do you answer questions when you deal with a buyer? Do you answer the same questions that you deal with a buyer as you do a seller? And the answer is no. They're very, very different. And so understanding that helps you understand, because our goal is we're not doing meta tags and geocaching and all this garbage that people are saying. What we're doing is helping people understand how to have YouTube recommend their video. And so, you ever search something on YouTube and then a few hours later, there's another video that shows up that's very similar to the one that you just searched. That's what we're trying to do. So it's a very different audience if you have how to buy a home and then home buying stuff shows up, and then you then search how to sell a home. That's a totally different audience, a totally different thing. And people are like, well, you could have it both on the same channel. No, because YouTube wants they want people on the platform longer. And the only way to get them on the platform longer is to make sure that you're giving them the content that they want to watch.
I heard one guy say, but every home seller is going to have to buy. And I said that, and I get what you're saying, except for the fact that a home seller usually has gone through this process and is not looking for your home buying tips.
Right.
They already know, they're already getting that education on the home they're trying to sell. So they're looking for those things in the house that they're trying to purchase.
It may be more like relocation of like, hey, they're going to a different area, but that's a whole different niche as well.
Right. Relocation is not the same thing as a first-time home buyer. Those are two different channels as well. And I think that's the hardest thing. The hard thing for people to understand is that I talk about this. I talked about this at Vid Summit. And when you're trying to understand your audience, you're narrowing down who it is who's actually watching. So much so that you can get to a point where you're only making content for one specific person. And like in the course and everything, everybody knows that his name is Frank. I named him Frank. And if you spend the time to really get into your avatar's head and in your audience's head to know what their pain points are at that moment, because their pain points from last year are going to be completely different than they are this year. You're going to have a lot more success with your channel because you're in their head. You know what they're looking at today. They know, you know what news stories are eating away at their brains. So you are going to be the one that's going to save the day and give them the information that they need. And that's where, that's the, what they say, the riches in the niches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you're that specific, you're going to have a lot more success. And,
right.
you know, like the biggest channels, like the reason they're so big is because they truly understand who that one person is. Mr. Beast knows exactly how old the person is that's watching his channel. He knows all the ins and outs of what they're into, the video games they like, what scares them about the future, what things they are concerned about when the environment. He has played that up to a point where he knows exactly who his audience is. And that's how you should be with your real estate channel. You know, it doesn't matter if they're kids or not, you know, like you really need to understand how old the person is that's watching your channel. You need to understand what their pain points are, what they're about, and then really dig into that.
Right. And, you know, like one of the things also to think about is you hit a really good point of like niching down, right? So you're getting a very specific audience. And a lot of people think, well, if I do that, then there won't be enough viewers, or there won't be enough, I won't get enough views. But people don't understand that on a day, like an average daily visitor usage is like 122 million users. So it's not like you can niche down very, very specific and still get a ton of views. And that's users. That's not even views. Views are like in the billions for a day, you know, like, so I don't think that when people say, well, I'll be too specific and no one will find my channel, it's the opposite. More people will see it because YouTube's algorithm already knows what these people are searching for. And if you follow with what they like, then it's going to get served up to them, and then they're going to be able to watch it. And that's where like we see a ton of exponential growth with our students. They'll be posting videos on their old channels or whatever, and then they relaunch after taking the course, and they're blown away that, you know, maybe the first video they only got on their old channel 50, 60, 100 views, and their very first one, this one, they just got 1,000 views or something like that. I think it was even more than that, but it was, I mean, but it's because she did it in a way that follows what YouTube likes, and she's very specific. So the biggest issue is a lot of people think, well, I'll just do 2 channels, or I'll just do this, but it's hard to just do 1 channel. Like, why would you try? Like, think of all the time and effort in editing, writing the script, putting the stuff together, and then you got to do that for a whole nother channel, and it can't be the same video. It's got to be a whole nother unique video. Like, you'll never do it.
There's only there's a couple instances that I say a second channel, or like, go for it, right? If you know your audience and you've been doing long form for quite some time, and then you think that, well, I'm going to do shorts, and shorts will get you a lot of views. I know a lot of people get those views, but it doesn't follow along with your long form content. So I always tell real estate agents, like, look, if you want to do short form, start another channel just for short form videos. I know that goes against what a lot of other coaches have been teaching you, but shorts they're just mind numbing people doing this. You're not going to get that connection with an audience. And I know that the next thing they say is, well, they will introduce them to your long form content.
Totally different audience.
Totally different audience. And I've seen it with the biggest channels on YouTube, where they went into, well, like both ways. So one of them was a short form content channel. They only made shorts. Then they started doing long form, and they were getting the views. They were getting like 1,000 views,
even though they're getting like 1 million subscribers a month.
Oh yeah, and they were cranking out. I mean, they have like a whole team behind them, and they just cannot get that momentum like they can with their short form content. Right. And then vice versa. You know, like they have this long form content, and then they get the views, but it's almost, again, splitting the audience, because the people that consume those short form videos are not the same kind of people that consume their long form.
Right.
So that's one instance that you would want to do just a separate channel. The other thing is that if I know a lot of people have listings and those walkthrough tours and everything. So I always have done this. Matter of fact, way back when, before shorts were even a thing, Daryl Eves told me to go ahead and stop putting my listings on my channel. This is before I knew anything, and go put it on a completely separate channel, which I did. It was the smartest thing I ever did, because then the audience was able to get tailored down even more. And that's when I started really having success, because I took those listing videos and put them on another completely different channel.
Right.
So, then that becomes a different channel. It's a tour channel. And I know that, we're in real estate, we want to have listings. Even if it's a channel that's education is about selling homes, selling a house information is completely different than touring a house.
Right.
So, I know that you're like, well, they're both selling. No, it's not the same, because the touring is for a buyer buying a house that's touring that house. Your information about selling a home is not the same thing. And then you're probably thinking, well, the thing is that a buyer is going to want to tour those houses. As well as I do, the price points for all of those listings are going to be completely different from one another. So it will not be the same avatar.
Right.
So put those listing tour videos on a completely different channel. So, yep.
Yeah. And you know what, like it's okay, because if you don't post on that channel, it's not going to hurt anything. Like you can do it sporadic, you can do it whenever you want, but if you're consistent on the other, then that's where you're going to see the growth, and you will see a big difference between the two. And so, a lot of people say, well, okay, Stuart had a question and he said, what would you suggest, buyers or sellers? And it honestly doesn't matter. Like
what you're wanting to do.
Yeah. It's like, what do you want to talk about? Do you want to educate buyers or do you want to educate sellers? Like, doesn't matter. It matters like what your goal is. Like, why are you creating the content? Are you wanting to get buyer leads, or are you trying to get listings? Like that's what you need to look at, So,
and then your sellers and your buyers are completely different, because there's some buyers that are relocating. There's some buyers that are first time and have no idea what's going on. You have some buyers, they're moving up, but they don't know what they don't know what they don't know. So your buyer needs to be very specific. Same thing with selling. There's people that are selling high-end properties. What do they need to know? What are the pitfalls of that? There's other people that, like, you really have to understand who your avatar is to know to make the right kind of content. Because even home buyers, right, is too broad of a topic. Right. You have to get specific. Same with selling. Yep. This is a good question. Would you be better off having multiple channels, one for buyers and one for sellers for local content? You would be better off having a channel that appeals to not just your specific local area. You would be better off making content for a specific buyer, and if you wanted to start another channel, have it up for sellers. But you have to dedicate your time to that, right? If you're going to do educational content, you have to make sure that you have one video out a week, minimum, unless you're putting together epic cinematic
Mark Rober style videos.
Then you could do one probably once a month, right? Yeah. But I don't know of one YouTuber in the real estate niche that creates that epic kind of content that people can't wait for it to come out again.
Right.
We ain't that special.
That brings up a good point, though, is it's like, if you're going to put a lot of effort in growing YouTube and you're going to do that, like it's very demotivating when you put all this effort in and then you script it, you film it, and then you put it out there and then nobody watches it, or you get 20 views or whatever. Right. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, oh, man, I just put my heart and soul into this. And then you got to do it again. Right. And then again. And what is really hard is when you have no plan and you don't have a strategy, because you will always get the same results that you've gotten unless you adjust. And so those are the things that that are super important, is understanding, hey, as you put content out, if you're making the effort, obviously you're going to try whatever you can to get to the most amount of people. And understanding what YouTube really wants is they want like consistent information to a very specific type of person for that channel. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't introduce a couple little things that are, that are there. But at the end of the day, like if you're not getting views and you're putting content out and you're like, I don't even think this is worth it, I don't even think it's worth doing this, it's because you're doing it wrong. And if you just do a few little things, like Daryl says, small peaks, what?
Small tweaks,
small
big
tweaks.
Peaks. Small tweaks, big peaks.
Yeah. So
looking at a thumbs up there.
Oh, is it doing a thumbs up? So anyway, so that's the thing, is like when you change these little teeny things, and the stuff that we're talking about, you can incorporate on your channel right now. Like you can literally go in and say, okay, I'm going to really focus on home buyers. Okay, so what type of home buyer? Now you have to ask yourself, what type of home buyer am I going to work with? Am I going to work with a first-time home buyer? Is it a move-up buyer? Is it a move-down buyer? Is it a relocation? Is it a 55 and older? Like just that right there are individual channels that you have an opportunity to make, but you need to focus on one of those things instead of, well, I'm dealing with buyers. So my buyers, it's real estate. Like they should know that.
I used to think that, I'm like, well, my channel, I'm very niche. It's about real estate.
Right.
I'm so smart. I already know. No, I didn't realize. Stuart says, is it okay to have an unlisted playlist for the tours or database emails for my marketing? This purpose is not for growing the channel, but more to have a placeholder. Yeah, you can do that as unlisted if you wanted to. I mean,
but the problem with unlisted is that you can't, like, people can't actually access it that well. It'd be easier just to start a new channel, just to dump all of that stuff on.
Yeah, sometimes though people they do that because listings go out. Like you can't. Some states will not allow you to have a listing video out there after it's sold. So yeah, I mean technically, yeah.
You'd have to make it private if you really don't want it to affect YouTube.
I used to have a blog back in the day, and I'd use blog posts to talk about my local area, which had nothing to do with my YouTube channel. So I had a dump channel. I have actually a bunch of channels that really were for all sorts of different purposes. One of them was for emailing. One of them, well, that same email one was the same one that I put my blog videos on. Like I make a video about HOAs in my area or whatever, and then I'd put that on the blog just because it gave it more Google juice.
I love that.
Yeah. So yeah, just you can do that. Whatever you want to do, you can put it unlisted. It's so discouraging to spend when you spend a bunch of time on something on my current channel. Yeah, it is. I have some videos on my channel that I'm still proud of to this day. They're very old. But when I watch them, I'm like, you know what? That was really good for not knowing anything about what I was doing, some of my listing videos, I'm still very proud of them. They're goofy, they're really fun. But no one, never to see the light of day again.
But the thing is that's a great metric, right? Is you can judge where you were to where you are now. And that's with every video, you should be able to do that. But because you're in it so much, you don't really notice it. But if you look back a year from now, you'll notice a huge difference on how you talk to a camera, how you explain things compared to even maybe if you're editing them yourself, how you've gotten better at editing or whatever it is.
And even just like little things you didn't even understand. Like, like back in the day, they used to tell you, oh, you just repeat the title. So like, let's just say the title of the video was 5 Ways to Buy a Home. Then you would come in and you're like, hi, Hey, I'm Kristina Smallhorn, your real estate whisperer. Today we're going to be talking about the 5 ways you can buy a home. And then you would run like a 10-second intro video.
Yeah.
Everybody was doing that. Every single person. It was so wrong, so tragically wrong. Dumb, 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 dumb. And then I was like, I kept telling people to stop doing that. But, you know, there was coaches out there that were telling people to do it. Well, then
because that's the marketing gurus, right? It's like introduce yourself first, talk about your brokerage, talk about you, and then get to maybe your point of why you made the video. Those hockey sticks would be awesome. I would love
that. So they're asking us to give an example of a strategy. So I'll give you my strategy on my channel. So I'm about affordable housing, right? My avatar's name is Frank. He's over the age of 55 and made some really poor financial decisions. He's looking for the best way he can retire with the least amount of money, financial hurt that he can go through. So he's looking at different ways that he could find an affordable home, whether that buy a piece of dirt in the middle of Nowhereville, whether that's, you know, like, he's not opposed to living in a van down by the river, but you know, that's his very last option. So he wants to hear about modular homes because he thinks that modular homes and manufactured homes are the same thing. So once he starts watching my videos, he realizes, oh, well, that's not the same thing. Then he thinks he wants to live in a tiny home, but doesn't realize he's over the age where probably climbing up ladders isn't the best idea. So then he watches one of my videos about tiny homes and is like, I don't know if I want to do that. Then he hears that you can't get insurance on it like he thought too. And he was like, nope. Found out he doesn't. He thinks he wants to live off the grid, but not really. Nope. He wants to be tied into utilities. I know this because I keep creating content for him, but I'm studying him constantly. He's also very concerned about the economy and what's going on in the United States today. He's worried that homes become more and more unaffordable. And he's really worried, you know, what's really happening in the real estate world if he's going to make another financial mistake, because most likely he got himself in hot water in 2007 when he bought his house and he overbought it and he overpaid for it. And then he lost his rear end and had a short sale. So I make content for that guy constantly.
So for someone that is just starting, or maybe they've been going for a while, like, you have to understand that this avatar, this Frank, he came about over time. This is not something that is like, Chris, what you just rattled off happened all today. Like, correct. It's something that you learn as you understand how YouTube works, and as you understand how to read analytics, and as you understand how to understand metrics, and like why, because YouTube tracks everything. They track everything. And if you understand how to read that stuff and then how to incorporate it, and you're consistent, you will grow. And that's really what we teach in the course, is for people to understand that it's not, everyone is, Daryl says, throwing spaghetti against the wall, right? And it's just like, hey, we'll just see what sticks. Maybe something will stick, maybe it doesn't. But at the end of the day, like, you really have to have a strategy. And part of that strategy is, like, you have to know who your viewer is. If you don't know who your viewer is, then nobody's your viewer, because you're just out there for, like, it's just not getting put out there. So it's a really, really very concise, and like, Kristina knows everything about her Frank. And her Frank, this is going to sound weird, but her Frank is a lot of people. It's not one person. It's a lot of people.
A lot of Franks, a lot of Franks that are in the same situation he's in, you know? And then the other thing too, is that when I started this, the only thing I was talking about at the beginning was mobile homes, right? It took me time to figure out who this person was. I was going off a guess, and I keep testing those assumptions every time I put out a video. And that's why not every video is a complete banger, because I was off the base of who my audience was, you know?
Right.
Sometimes I do things though as an experiment, you know, like I'll do a video that's just totally different than everything else. And I'm just like, you know what? Let's just see if Frank is interested in this.
Yeah, but that's a great way to test to see where things are at. So this is another good question. He says, so really your market is people who want to find an inexpensive home. Yeah, it's affordable housing.
The best affordable housing option for them, because they have such a limited amount of money. They want to retire. And so they're even, and I need to like dig into this a little bit more, but they are not opposed to, as the world changes, moving out of the country. So my Frank is like, you know what, maybe that's going to be the best place for me to retire, is just to go and pack up and move to Guatemala or something.
Right.
So yeah. So it's about affordable housing options. But I mean, even in my chat though, that even though I'm making it for Frank, you'll see that like there's people that are of all walks of life, whether it's over 55 or not. They have the same issue, right? So that millennial that has looking for the most inexpensive home, so they don't have to rent anymore because their rent keeps going up, Yeah. And that's why like ADUs is another thing. So even though my avatar is over the age of 55, doesn't have a lot of money, is not opposed to tiny homes, sometimes my Frank will is looking for the most affordable housing option because he wants a family member to move in the back of his house.
Yep. So like an ADU or something.
Like an ADU or a tiny home. So he's kind of debating, like maybe it's his teenage daughter, right? So he's like, I don't have a lot of money to do this, but how can I keep her here so that way she doesn't have to pay rent? Maybe I can do an ADU. So, I'm always testing it. What I think I know about him today is it can totally change tomorrow. By definition, that's a lot of people across the country. For some of us, we focus locally. You can still focus locally and still focus on that one specific. Go look at Javier Vaidana's channel.
Yeah.
Go look.
If you don't know where he's at, you will after watching a couple of his videos that he's in Phoenix. But his reach is everyone across the country that's a first-time home buyer.
And in his videos, he clarifies exactly who he is, where he's talking about. He even shows his local MLS, but he's getting a lot of traffic to his channel.
But he doesn't introduce himself like that. That's the difference. I think that a lot of people think, well, I got to introduce myself and I got to do that. No, there's a strategy behind that as well on when you should be talking about those things.
Exactly. Exactly. You can have local content, but make sure it reaches a wide audience, but you're very specific. I know that sounds so counterintuitive, but yeah. I think you underestimate the draw of your personality. Oh, well, you haven't read my comments.
Yeah. I think Frank's salty sometimes.
Frank hate watches me.
It's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, there's a love-hate relationship. He loves to tell me how stupid I am on a regular.
He loves to tell you why are you wearing that and why is your makeup like that? That has nothing to do with like your actual content.
So I had one comment from one of my Franks, and he was like, what's up with your purple hair? Like, why are you like, you look so unprofessional. I never listened to you. This guy said he never listened to me and went on a tirade on like 5 different videos. So obviously couldn't help but listen to me. But right after that, I get another, and they're like, oh, I missed the purple hair. It needs to go back. That was a totally different avatar. I'm like, that is so funny.
Yeah, but that's the thing is like you start to build a community, and that they look forward to you putting stuff out because either they want to like argue with you, or they want to challenge you, or they want to be like, oh, thank you so much for providing that information. That was like super helpful.
I the biggest compliments I've been getting recently, because I talk to a lot of people on the phone, is that they always say, oh, I just always feel like you're for the little guy. Every single person I talk to, they're like, I just really feel like you really help the little guy. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. But I've never said that. That's never been like one of the words.
It just comes across through your messaging.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, oh, wow, that's awesome. Cause I really do like, that's what I'm trying to do. So when doing local content, it's important to adopt an and mentality. It's not this or that mindset. Local and national, or not local or national content. It's the best way to grow. Yeah. So what she's saying is that, like, you can't be like, well, I'm just local, I can't talk about national stuff, like you have to.
But
And
that
Daryl taught me that, right? Like, because I was like, well, I really just only sell in this area. He's like,
no,
stop, like, there is a big giant ocean out there and you're fishing into this little tiny hole. Like, if you're only fishing in this tiny hole and there's a bunch of other fishermen in that hole, you're fighting against them. And if everybody in your town, you're right, everybody in Tennessee right now, all of the agents in Tennessee, they're all doing pros and cons, moving to living in, and a market report for that local area. And they're all doing it week after week after week. You are oversaturating the market with that specific information. That is going to be very limiting. At some point, you're going to plateau. You're going to do all of those videos and you're going to do them again. And then you're going to do them again. And then all of a sudden it just kind of flatlines. You're going to have all this growth and then it's going to go, because all you're doing is copying and pasting what everybody else is doing. You have to know what people need to hear and want to hear today. You have to understand your audience and how to research new content that's going to appeal to that audience. If you don't understand that, you're going to plateau.
The other thing to think about too, and we talk about this all the time, is we say that your location is not your niche. Like we say all the time. So when you understand that, the locality doesn't matter because you're talking to a broader audience that's very specific, not necessarily just in your little area. And that's why it doesn't mess up the algorithm, is because your location is not your niche. Like, that has nothing to do with it. But everyone thinks, well, I'm here and this is what I need to do. And that's my niche. My niche is California, or like San Francisco, whatever. Like, that's not. The
people that really stick to that were the same ones that used to tell you, you need to be the digital mayor for your area.
Right.
So, don't be the digital mayor. That doesn't work. I did that. I followed the Gary V method. Going to be the digital mayor. Going to go to this local burger place and do a video for them. You get business from the guy who owns a burger place, but that's it.
Yeah, and then the tour channel calls you and says, "Hey, can we put your video on our website because you're a great tour guide?"
Yep, that's exactly right. The unexpected benefit of doing content for a national audience is that it makes you stronger, more educated agent. Yes, it does. Yeah. And, the thing is when you put in your viewpoints on things, there may not even be that revolutionary, right? But your Frank many never heard that information before in their lives.
Yep.
So whenever you put that out there, then people are like, oh. And sometimes I'm like, I'll have like theories on stuff. And I'm like, if I say this, people are going to be like, yeah. So what I always do is I go, look, there's absolutely no evidence about what I'm about to say. This is my tinfoil hat theory of what I think is really going on here. They eat that crap up. Love it.
Yeah, because they're conspiracy theorists too.
Yes, they are. They are. You are correct. So, but then when they hear that, they're like, oh, that does make sense, But like the things I would have never said 3 years ago, what goes on in my brain, right? Now I can freely say it, but I make sure that I'm very clear in the fact that I have no evidence, this is just a theory, because then it doesn't, I want anybody to say, you said, blah, blah, blah,
blah. Yeah. You've already put it out there. Hey, this is just me. It's not that, Yeah. And the other thing too is always quote someone else so that you're never held responsible.
I learned that from ABR, buyer's accreditation, or what, accredited buyer's agent, right? So the guy, what was his name? I'll think of it later. But he used to say, don't be the source, be the source of that source, right?
Yeah.
So you would always say like Fox News said, or
Yeah.
CNN Business said, and then you quote them. Don't be the one to quote. Don't say
Don't take
don't
it.
say there's 5 million homes under contract right now, right? You say, according to realtor.com, there's 5 million homes under contract right now.
Yeah, you're just the messenger. Like, you don't like, yeah, that's what they said. Go look them up. Here's the sources that I pulled this from.
I did not lie. I did not lie.
Jason's got a question.
All right. What do you want, Jason? What do you want?
Hello, should I start a second channel if I want to make videos about Sacramento neighborhood tours and Sacramento housing content, and have a second channel that's posted that I haven't posted in about a year? Yeah, if you're doing home tours and stuff, that'd be a great place for it.
Yeah, put it on the other channel. But if you haven't posted anything to that second channel in a year, that channel's it's dead, Jason. You're gonna have to start all over. If you haven't posted content for more than 6 months on a specific channel, I'm not saying you can't do a little heart attack, but you're gonna have a slower road ahead.
Yep.
Believe it or not, YouTube rewards newer channels first. So if you start off with a newer channel with content that you're pumping in pretty consistently right away, you're gonna have a lot more success than trying to revive an old channel. Yep.
Yes. And he follows up really quickly. Obviously, I'm not going to post this on my main channel.
Yeah. No, Jason. No. Yeah. Don't do that. Yeah, that's smart.
That brings up a good point, though, because home tours are very popular and people are watching them on their TVs and stuff. And, you can get like a little gimbal, use your phone, and you could have an assistant go walk through and do all of that, and they'll get great views if you're consistent.
Yeah. And I noticed that like the ones that are over, you got to be over 15 minutes with them. And people are like, oh, I had this guy in this area arguing with me. How do you get people to even watch for that long? Nobody has the attention span anymore. I'm like, you're thinking of as other social media sites. And I want to make this very clear. My avatar was completely cellular phone. It had been that way from 2017 all the way till 2022. In 2023, there was a huge spike in the amount of people that are watching it on television. And now it's the majority of my views are watching it on television. So you got to remember, people are replacing their television with YouTube videos. That's how you got to look at it. So when you're doing these walkthrough tours, there's some people that sit there and watch that crap because it makes them go to sleep at night.
Yeah. Or
they're
doing the dishes, or they're doing something and it's just kind of on.
Yeah, it's on, and it's, like they just like watching it one right after the other. Or sometimes people are like, they like the fact that you took the time to show all the different details in the house. So then not only that, they're like, oh, I really like this. Then they share it with their mom, and then they share it with their dad, and then they share it with their sister, and they're like, oh, come look at this house. And maybe they'll even share it on Facebook. Those home tours are really good. People love them. People really love them. Yep.
No, we do. We have someone, there's a couple other questions, and then someone was asking for maybe if we would do a live review. We're not opposed to doing that. So
nah, we're not opposed. Let's do it.
Let's see. Did someone else have another question?
We got another question. What did you got?
Well, I don't know if I didn't know if there was another question. Here we go, right here. Go ahead and read that. I'm going to be looking up something here.
Wait a minute. Something clicked. My avatar wants me to move to Nashville, but they're also interested in larger international issues like interest rates and national market conditions. Correct? Correct. You have a light bulb moment. Ding, 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 ding. You got it. You got it. You got it. You hit it right on the head. Boom, boom. Yep. Yep.
That's what we're here for, right?
We are. I'll be there for these 5 words, I swear to you. I may never sing to you again, but that.
All righty. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to shoot this over to you. Did you get that?
I did. We put the needle on the record. Put the needle on the record. Oh, my Advil has kicked in and my headache has gone away, sir. I feel so much
You're like, you're like a little more upbeat than when we first started.
Yeah, I've been nursing a headache all day long. And it does not make Kristina very happy. Let's do it like this. No, I don't like this one. Let's do this one. You like that one?
Yeah, that's good.
No, I don't like that one. Well, I guess we don't need this stuff on the right, so we'll do it like that. Okay. All right, we got Central Coast, California living.
She follows up really quickly with, I've already watched most of your videos, so I know that the banner needs to be changed.
The banner needs to be changed. I would consider too renaming your channel, just for the sole reason is that Central Coast, California, living in Solo County. That, like, if someone was actually to type in your channel name, that's a lot of words, and it doesn't flow in a way that's very memorable. You know, that I know that probably you've learned somewhere along the way that you had to make your channel name something like this, so that way it gave you more SEO search optimization. That's horse crap, horse poop. Your videos are your SEO. Your videos that are tailored to your audience are going to be the things that make people find your channel. You want your channel name to be something memorable that will connect with your avatar, that's easy to spell, because you got to remember, most people can't spell past an 8th grade education. Easy to spell, easy to remember. I would consider changing it. There's a lot going on here. That would be my first suggestion. I like her profile picture too.
Yeah, it's cool.
Change the banner, you know. Mm-hmm. You can always come back and we'll look at your banner. Yeah. Living in California, Central Coast, Solo County. Well, you said named this. I would even change the banner. That's not a value proposition. Like, I would change it. What do you say, Joe?
Yeah, I agree. I'm going through some of her videos I was just looking at, but yeah, the banner is, I mean, the value proposition is like, hey, do real estate. Mm-hmm. And at a glance, you want them to be able to recognize and realize that that's what you do. I mean, yes, you've got the California state, and then you've got a palm tree. But as far as like the subscribe, learn about, and then even your channel name, like it'd be like when you do your marketing, because channel names don't really mean anything. So mm-hmm. you could change your channel name to your name. I mean, mm-hmm. literally, like it's something that people would like call you and remember, oh, this is who I worked with. Mm-hmm. So I like I knew what your channel was just from your message there. And I still had to like go back and look 2 times to make sure I spelled it right, because it wasn't pulling up. Yeah. So, but as far as like I like the color scheme. I think the color scheme's great. It's just cleaning it up a little. And then she does have the Calendly discovery call, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. So that's there in the about. So,
you know, we're going to tell you to take off the whole Facebook thing. Take it off. Take it off. We're going to tell you to take it off. But I do like that your first link is to book a call. That is very smart. But there's no reason to have your social media sites on there unless you have a extremely popular, very active social media presence on your Facebook page.
I concur.
Let's look at her thumbnail. Oh, look, she's nice and big. 1/3. Perfect. Yeah. Move yourself to the right. Do you see how you're kind of like towards the middle? Move yourself to the right more, and then you can see the house. Yep.
So one thing that you could like, and this is more of like for the editing stuff, but like if you look at like, you should know this, that thumbnail right there. Uh-huh. Perfect rule of thirds, right? Like you got your face, you got the house, you should, like this, you should know this. And then you have that. And then when you hover over the video, do you see the framing on that? Oh, and yeah. So what you want to do is when you're filming yourself, bring yourself up or lower the camera down more so that it's more directly in front of you rather than it kind of looking down, and then you have a gap between your head and the top of the screen.
Let's talk about her title length on this too.
Oh yeah, that's
you're really trying to tailor this down to 65 characters or less, right? And I know, like, all you had to really do is put the best cities to retire in California. Boom, leave it there. You really didn't need anything more than that. Not all this other stuff you could have put into your description. Yep. And so what she did with her first line of her description was copy the title.
The same thing and then put it back in, right?
Somebody taught her that, I'm sure. That is not necessary either. You just use your, like, all you got to say is, like, have you ever wanted to know what your best places to retire in California are? That would have been just as fine. YouTube knows what you're doing, and sometimes they'll refer to that as keyword stuffing. So just be cautious of that. And then, the thing is that if you are in that area of the Gulf Coast of California, why are you in front of a green screen? Why don't you go take your camera, go outside and show them the Gulf Coast of California? That's what I would do. Like, people want to see it. I wouldn't be sitting in front of a green screen.
Yeah, I think, and maybe this is something to think about too, is you can kind of break it up and give your, do some B-roll of you showing stuff, talking about what you're doing. It's obviously informational based and, the market type stuff, but just looking back at your different videos, this is what we talk about, like seeing patterns and analyzing, is look at it and go, okay, my most viewed videos, the longest duration of retention, like what is it, and where does it spike? And when you can see those things, that's going to be huge. But I am curious of why, here's what if you were going to do a green screen and you wanted to do green screen, it would make way more sense to do like something where you're kind of in the corner at the bottom and then have like the MLS or a bunch of listings of whatever or articles, whatever you're talking about. That's really what should be in the background then. It should be relevant to what you're talking about in a way that gets people engaged.
Right. So what she's doing here is she's like, you see her, she's up in the corner here, and then she's showing YouTube. You know what you can do, and I do this all the time, is if you're going to use clips like that, just screen record those clips on your phone, and then you can use that in your video instead of showing a screen recording like this, where they can see all the TubeBuddy stuff and all this other stuff.
Yeah, you can put it right in your background.
Right. Then you just clip it. Then you put in the video like that you cropped out from YouTube right there, and you stick that in there, and then you get back to you. So it actually ends up being a good pattern interrupt for the viewer too, to have that. I do it all the time. I'm literally editing a video right now that does that. But like, instead of having you up in the corner kind of just watching and not saying anything, that will make more sense for the viewer.
Yeah. So, and there's nothing wrong with the information and having that. It's just kind of like a couple little tweaks to enhance that, the viewer side of things, like putting yourself in their view, going, okay, like what is the message that I want them to get, and how do I keep them engaged so that they stay on the video the whole time through? And that's what Kristina's talking about with these pattern interrupts. Is you may think, oh, that doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's actually a really, really important thing, because people tend to, like, if it's the same thing, they tend to lose interest. And so that's where you change, like, either a different background. Like some people will even film in 2 different locations. So they'll be maybe in an office in one setting and then out in the backyard in another setting, or in a different area, to break up the content that they're sharing.
Yep. This is too much SEO optimizations. Yeah. Okay. We're going to go on a tangent for half a second.
We got time. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. So back in the day, back when YouTube was a infant, right? In order for them to know what they the videos they needed to serve to certain people, they asked the creators to start putting in tags so that way they could introduce those videos to the right specific audience. They did not have the algorithm system that they have today. YouTube knows exactly what your video is about the minute it is uploaded. So there's no special hacks, tricks, anything that you're doing, or like there's nothing that you can write as far as, you know, in the description. You can't trick it. There's no special tags, miracle soup of tags that you could stick at the bottom that
Google juice.
Yeah, like some people would say Google juice, that's going to magically make your video blow up and appease the YouTube gods. All you really need to do is create a very good title, a very good thumbnail, and then keep people watching. If you're focused in on your audience, you know who your avatar is, you will have a ton of success on that. You're wasting too much time, because I used to do it. I spend a whole day crafting a 350 word blog post inside my description with that was SEO rich after I worked with 4 different tools, keywords everywhere, vidIQ, TubeBuddy, Morning Fame, had them all there. Made sure all the scores lined up. I would get 100 all the way across. Oh yeah, all green lights, check marks, all this other stuff. Upload it, making sure, God, this is going to be it. This is going to be the thing that makes my video finally blow up on YouTube. And it never worked. And I kept doing it week after week after week, because that used to be how YouTube works. It does not work that way anymore. You can literally take every single one of those downloads and browser plugins, take them right off, and I promise you, you would have the same success as if you didn't do it at all. You know, like
yeah.
If you did the same title and thumbnail and you didn't put any of that other garbage in there, you would have the exact same success. Exact same.
And the biggest reason why is because YouTube's, like, the algorithm, the AI that runs it is so smart that it already knows what you're talking about. It knows everything. And its goal is like viewer, like they want the viewer to be on longer. They want the viewer to watch the ads so they can make more money. Like that's what they want. And so in order to do that, like you can't game the system. You can't change it. It doesn't, that those things don't work. And anyone that gets emails from people, you know, saying, let me optimize your YouTube channel because and they got all these arrows going everywhere.
Yeah.
Like that's the biggest scam in the world. Like you don't need any of that stuff.
That would have worked in all the way up
like
to
2013. Yeah, maybe, but we're way past that now. And the thing is that, so really what it comes down to is, like Kristina says, good thumbnail, good title, and then your content that delivers on that promise. And if you can do those 3 things, then you're going to have more success. And then even more than that, like we've been talking about this whole live stream, is understanding who your audience is, who is your avatar, and then make content specifically for that person. And if you can do that on a consistent basis, you will grow.
Yeah, she said, I got to unlearn some things. Every one of our students says the same thing.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm like, you don't need any of that. I'll tell you what those tools are good for. So if you have like TubeBuddy or vidIQ, they are really good to help you to reply to comments.
Yep.
They're really good for like organizing your content. They're really good for, they have all different other aspects of those apps that are really good. They're terrible at title creation because it's AI generated title creation, and they double do a title. So they'll be like, best places to live, ... Do you know where you want to live in California? Yeah. You know, like it's a terrible title. People don't click on those, right? You know? But they're a good place to like flush out ideas and organize your content. They're not really good. There's no like magic soup of keywords that they can give you that will make it better. Matter of fact, if I put in the words affordable housing in TubeBuddy, it gives me the worst score ever. And that's some of my highest watch content.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's the thing is that's why we're doing these live streams, is we want people to realize that you can have success, you can grow on YouTube. And if you implement the things that we're talking about, you will get there. If you want to do it on a faster scale, we have a course. So we have something that you can join and you can unlearn even more than what you were learned, and we'll teach you the right way. There's very, very very specific things.
We have a small amount of people in each group. Like we don't put in a ton of people. And then once you're done, we don't leave you. We're still there all the way to the moment of launch. And even then we don't leave you. You're always you're always part of our community. You'll always be a real estate geek, but it's really hard to unlearn what you've learned. I was the same exact way. And I can honestly tell you, when I took Daryl's course, who has given us permission to give the light version for real estate agents, Joe and I, when I took his course, I'd never been so incredibly angry out of all the people that I trusted, that I gave my money and my time and energy to, telling me this is what YouTube was about, that they lied. They flat out lied just to sell a course. They didn't know what they were talking about. And it made me so angry, so incredibly angry. And I just don't want you guys to waste your time on that. I mean, that's a lot of money to be putting out there for something that isn't going to really help you in the long run.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately the goal is to do business, right? And you've got to get out in front of people. So you want views. The more views you can get, then the more opportunity. Was Eddie doing anything today on this live stream?
No, he probably thinks so. So Eddie's the producer to my live stream on Sunday, but Eddie doesn't come out here. Sometimes he did it one time when you weren't here.
Yeah. No, we're our own producers today.
Yeah, we're doing it. Well, we're bouncing off of each other. He has access. So
yeah. So when she's talking, I'm putting stuff up, and then when I'm talking, she does. So it's actually awesome software for live streams. So.
Oh, I know. If you guys want an affiliate link,
yeah, we got one of those.
We got one of those. Yeah, we love ourselves.
It's a whole nother live stream. We could be talking about how to make money on stuff with that too.
Yeah. So they said that they're feeling like they hit a wall. I won't quit though. I'm in it for the long haul. That's what happens with a lot of people, especially if you, you're in an area, everybody had taken that same exact course, which it's always good to start with something where it's easy to digest.
Yeah.
And it's a great place to start because you understand the camera, you're understanding how to upload, you're learning a little bit about thumbnails, but that SEO strategy of making those types of videos will make you plateau. You're only going to hit the ceiling. And that's why a lot of the students that we have are in our course, is because they've hit that plateau part. And they're like, I don't understand. I was really cranking out some views and now I'm not getting anywhere. And that's why. It's a good place to start, but this is the best way to continuously be able to grow for years and years and years. Yep. We don't ever tell you what to make. We show you how you can research correctly so you know how to make what you need to make.
Yep. It's all about the process. And if you can follow the process, it works. And I mean, we have anyone that actually follows what we teach and are consistent, all of them have had amazing results, especially from what they had before to now. And not really anything has changed other than them understanding who they're making content for.
Yep. I concur, Joe Eves.
Yeah.
I concur. All right, everybody, look, we're wrapping up. If we only started on week 1, if you are interested in the course, this would be a perfect time for you to go ahead and sign up. We just finished week 1. You can catch up. After next week, though, you're going to have to wait another whole 5 weeks because it's an 8-week course. So I wouldn't suggest doing it after this week.
Yeah, actually, if you sign up today, you could join today's live call, because in about an hour, we will be meeting with our students to do the very first, the second, basically the review of the first week.
Yep. We always
the first week is very light on purpose.
Yeah. It's a good way for them to learn. It's all through the history of YouTube. So. Yep. So you really, I've heard, David, from my little birdies that they keep telling you to take our course. I've have heard from my little birdies.
We'll let them keep talking to him.
Yeah, that's right.
You wouldn't be the first that's creeped on the show for a while and then decide to take the plunge, and then they're like, "Why didn't I do this sooner?"
Yeah, and that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Are the ones that pay for the individual call that we talked to?
Yeah.
They sign up. All right, everybody. We'll see you next Thursday. If there's anything specific that you want us to talk about next week, make sure you put it in the comments section below, and we will see you next Thursday. So long, everybody.
All right, see you guys.
Music. Let's do some music on
our way.
Got
some music going? What do we got?
I don't know. Let's see. We're going to do some feeding ducks. Let's see what that sounds like.
What is feeding ducks?
That's what it says. Feeding the ducks.
Seems very peaceful.
Oh, it's like, I don't think this reminds me of feeding ducks. Whoever came up with the name of this.
You're sitting on a bench and you're throwing like bread at the ducks.
With a little like hip hop flair. All right. Bye, everybody. See you later.